George Soros is a billionaire mega donor, and he's the, the target of a lot of right-wing conspiracy theories. Now, just because there are anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that are against him, and there are, doesn't mean that he doesn't have a massively negative influence in our politics as a billionaire mega donor, because he does have that. So my point is, don't play the stupid partisan hack games here, where it's like, because you criticize George Soros, like you're with the Republicans or you're anti-Semitic or whatever. That's garbage. That's total garbage. I'm against George Soros' money in politics, and I'm against the Koch brothers' money in politics. Or I guess there's one Koch left, right? I don't know. One of them died, I think. Anyway, so let's take a look at this article here from Politico. Soros pours $125 million into SuperPAC ahead of midterms. The mammoth donation is fueling investment in Democratic political groups and races from Senate to Secretary of State around the country. $125 million. So the group is ironically called Democracy PAC. You can't functionally participate in kleptocracy or oligarchy and then call the PAC Democracy PAC. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. You should call it Oligarchy PAC or Kleptocracy PAC. Now, this has served as George Soros' campaign spending vehicle since 2019. He already channeled more than $80 million to other Democratic groups and candidates during the 2020 election cycle. This investment, 9-figure investment from Soros, is puts him in, I think, the top 10 of political contributors. Very few people obviously spend that much money on this kind of stuff. And their main causes, according to them, Soros and his son, who's going to run this, they want to support, quote, pro-democracy causes and candidates regardless of political party. Huh? They're invested in, quote, strengthening the infrastructure of American democracy, voting rights, and civic participation, civil rights and liberties, and the rule of law. And then they go on to cite, this is the main thing, January 6th is their big issue. You know what this tells me? I think they're also going to try to support like Kinzinger and Cheney, Liz Cheney. Because they say, look, they're trying to make clear this isn't partisan. So we're going to go for people who fit our grand scheme ideal here, which is January 6th bad. And by the way, agreed, January 6th really bad. But is that enough? Is that enough? As long as you're against January 6th, then you're good? Well, Liz Cheney has a voting record that's like probably over 90% with Donald Trump and with the far right. Because she's against January 6th, that means what? You're going to give her some of this money? Or Kinzinger, for example, you're going to give him some of this money? Look, the whole point of this story is to show you, look at what's happened. Like, our politicians are so useless and so corrupt that it doesn't even occur to them, hey, maybe a better way to do this thing is to just raise through small dollar donations. Maybe we should represent the people and only raise funds from the people. In fact, what they do is the polar opposite. They like forego support from the people and small dollar donations because they know they're unpopular and they know nobody likes them. And they run into the arms of a billionaire donor. And the billionaire donor, by the way, just so you know further what his philosophy is, he's already donated millions of dollars to like the Democratic Leadership PAC. So the current guard of the Democratic Party, the current status quo of the Democratic Party, that he looks at that, George Soros looks at that and says, my kind of people. But if that's your kind of people, then you're really not in favor of any sort of serious change. Because these people haven't delivered on change. These people, they had the whole laundry list. This is all the things we're going to do in Build Back Better. We're going to do universal pre-K. We're going to do elder care. We're going to do an extended child tax credit. We're going to expand Medicare and lower the age. Originally, they said 55. Then they moved it to 60. And then what happened? Here's what happened. So this is our politics now. You're witnessing our politics now. Competing billionaire donor bases determining who's going to get to run the country. And if Democrats win, you're going to get the philosophy of George Soros implemented, which my guess is a commitment to a centrist version of capitalism with extreme corporatism. You know, he might not hate gay people and might not hate minority groups and might be better on social issues. But that's as far as you're going to go. Because these are the people who are truly calling the shots behind the scenes. And again, it's not just George Soros on the Democratic side. It's also the Koch brothers on the Republican side. And the other list of big money donors who actually run everything. It's disgusting that it ever got to the point where we had this. I mean, how do we have a system where somebody could just give $125 million to political causes overnight? Now, let me ask you something. How does this not violate the principle of one person, one vote? Or just equality in our political system? Because the fact of the matter is, who are these politicians going to listen to? The guy who cut them a check for $125 million? Or the grandma in Cleveland who needs lower prescription drug prices? Well, the grandma in Cleveland only donated $5 to a politician or didn't donate any money to a politician. They're not going to listen to her. They're not going to listen. They're not going to listen to the people. They're going to listen to their funders. I don't know how anybody can defend this. I don't know how anybody could think this okay. And don't fall into the stupid partisan trap of because Republicans attack George Soros and because they have anti-Semitic conspiracies around him that go way too far, therefore, you know what? George Soros is good for propping up Democratic leadership who's repeatedly not delivered on any of the things they're supposed to deliver on? No, it's grotesque. And by the way, this is also why even genuine, well-meaning progressives who somehow end up getting elected, why they have such an uphill battle. That's not to say they've strategically done well. They haven't. They're very weak and feckless and easy to co-opt. But even ones who do mean well and would have a proper strategy, you're running up against a behemoth and a juggernaut. Because 80% of the party, 90% of the party is funded like this. And so, of course, they're going to represent their interests. And of course, they're going to represent big pharma and the military-industrial complex and the health insurance companies and the Wall Street banks and all that stuff. Disgusting, man. Absolutely disgusting. In a world that made sense, the Democratic Party would take that money, throw it back in George Soros' face, and tell him to shove it up his ass. We only take money from small donors. We only raise money from small donors because that's who we're representing. We have no interest in representing your worldview, George Soros. So, isn't it funny how there's also just no real billionaire donors who happen to believe in, at the very least, social democracy. Never mind market socialism or something like that. Weird. Seems like once you accrue a certain amount of wealth, there's only a certain amount left you're willing to go. Probably because you don't want really steep taxes on yourself, and you don't want to lose your privileged position and your power in society. Well, this is all the power. Clearly, he has all the power. He bought one of the two political parties, and that's the real takeaway from this story. This donor bought one of the two political parties. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.